Hello and welcome back to another episode of Come Over for Dinner. I'm so excited you're joining me today. Today I have a very special guest all the way from West Monroe, Louisiana. She is originally from Mississippi. Her name is Micah McCoy, and she has 8 children ages 4 to 14, and she has a big culinary background. She is going to share with us all about her beginnings with food all the way to the current time. And there is just so much wisdom and experience there that I cannot wait for her to delve into all of it and give us all of her tips and secrets and the things she's learned along the way. Welcome, Micah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background. I was going to start and I thought, oh no, I'm going to let her do it because there's so much to tell. It's just such an amazing story. So yes, jump in and tell us all about it.
I kind of stumbled into a career in the culinary world when I was 15. I began to be homeschooled. We had a local Christian school, but it ran out of grades. And so my parents started homeschooling my brothers and I when I was in 9th grade. And I had a lot of time on my hands suddenly. And a friend of my father's opened up a little restaurant, coffee shop that served breakfast and lunch next door to his office downtown. He said, I could talk to him. Maybe they would have a job for you there. And I said, sure. So they hired me at 15. And about 6 months into that job, they had an older lady, probably in her late 60s, who had done all the baking for them. She made all the muffins and pies and banana bread and cheesecake, all their little treats. They just kind of had a rotating menu. And she decided she just wanted to retire. She was tired. And the owner, we had like a meeting of all the employees, and the owner was kind of freaking out, going, what are we going to do? Where do we, she wants to quit, leave immediately. And they were brainstorming. And I said, well, I know how to make banana bread. I mean, I can help you out. And they jumped on it. And so they put me in the kitchen. So I would come and work the register, and make the coffees and things during the breakfast and lunch shifts. And then when lunch was over, I would go to the kitchen and do all the baking for the next day. So I did that all through high school until I moved at 17 to Louisiana to go to college. And it was a fun job, but I never really considered continuing in that industry. But when I got out of college, I really missed it. That cooking, I had always loved to cook, and that doing it daily had really just kind of been the most fun I'd ever had as far as a job. So I was able to find a restaurant in Monroe, Louisiana, that hired me on as their pastry chef.
Did you have pastry experience, or did you teach yourself?
I did not have any formal training. I have a good mom who taught me lots of things at home, and just kind of the on the fly, on the job training. This is something about the restaurant industry, is that a lot of times if you're hardworking and you show up and you're sober and have a good attitude, you can get hired on.
You stand out in the world
and kind of learn as you go.
Yes.
So I ended up being able to, after about 6 months, the fancy restaurant in town. We don't have a lot of restaurant selection, but we had one super fancy restaurant, and their chef came in and offered me a job, poached me. That's where I ended up for the next 4 years as the executive pastry chef of that restaurant. And I also ended up doing a lot of jobs on the side for them. I handled all of their ordering and inventory. I was the chef in charge during the lunch shift of that restaurant, so that the executive chef could be there during the nights for the more intense dinner service. And did that for about 4 years. And the last year, I also ran a kind of a side hustle of picking up catering jobs on my own on the weekends. And then I ended up getting married and left all of that. But now I tell people, now I have a 24/7 chef job. It doesn't stop. It's 3 meals a day, every day.
Right.
So
Yes, that's the hardest job there is, honestly. I mean, after running a kitchen,
yeah,
you're probably like,
yes,
oh dear, I thought I knew what I was doing. This is a whole nother experience. So
right.
now you cook 3 meals
But
a day. You have a family of 10 and obviously have
mhm.
guests in at times and other family and friends. Tell me about how that has transitioned for you.
I really like to heavily plan our meals. I don't like to just do things on the fly. I sort of feel like there's so much good food to have and so many good things to cook, and I don't want to miss any of them. So I like to kind of plan out our menus by the month. I keep a little folder in the kitchen where I'll write down, here's the month, and here we've got all the breakfasts and lunches and dinners planned, and I'll ask my kids for input. What do we want to have this month? And I've told them that you can't hold me to, just because it says on this day we're having this particular thing. It's not tight like that. But I like to kind of have a brainstorm of ideas, up on the refrigerator to work from. And I like to save those when we're done. I keep them in a little folder so that, next time April rolls around and I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know what we eat in April. What do we do when it's suddenly spring and nobody wants to have soup anymore? I can pull that out and
That's
reference
such a great
it.
idea. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every season or every month, especially
Right.
when you're kind of coming out of the
Right.
doldrums of winter and you're thinking to yourself, do I know how to cook anything? Do we want anything that I cook?
Yeah, I know.
Why do we
Why do
want
we want
food?
food? Why does
Yes. Is
everyone
there
want to eat
anything
all the
anybody
time?
likes
Yeah.
anymore? What? And then all of a sudden you open that folder and there's
Right.
these fresh ideas and maybe recipes you've forgotten about over winter time. That's a fabulous idea. Do you just do
Mhm.
something like a binder, a 3-ring binder, or how do you store yours?
Yeah, I have a 3-ring binder. So the menu plans for the months live up on the fridge all month, and then I pull them off and hole punch them and stick them in the binder. The inventory system too that we used working in a restaurant, I like that for grocery management as well. My family, we live it's about a 25-minute drive to get into town. We're out in the country. You don't want to be making a 25-minute drive when you realize, oh no, I forgot to buy ketchup this week, let me just pop in and get that doesn't happen. So I have to be really intentional and careful about grocery shopping because I kind of get one shot. There's one big trip into town for that a
So do
week.
you say you
So
go once a week to like stock up on pantry items?
yes. Oh, everything. It's a one shot deal once a week. I take my kids in for lessons. They're part of a choir. Half of my kids are homeschooled and the other half go to school. But I have the homeschool crowd all day. Once a week we've got a trip into town where they go participate in choir and things. So that's while they're doing their extracurriculars, I'm running around grabbing all the grocery orders.
Aren't grocery orders
Um,
amazing? It saves so much time. It's just incredible.
I don't
I
know
know.
how we live before. I don't remember
Well,
life
I
before
do.
Walmart
I
pickup.
remember being a very busy mom, whether I was homeschooling or I worked at my children's school and throughout, depending on what year it was, the situation was different, but always a part of their school life. And just, I remember there were Saturdays where it would feel like most of Saturday, or at least half of Saturday, was just dragging in and out of stores. And I did not like it at
Oh yeah.
all. It was your one day
Mhm.
off. I mean, you had Sunday too, but you don't want to
Yes.
spend your entire Saturday going in this store and then they were out of a couple items. So now you have to drag to the other store and then you need to go to the bulk warehouse
Mhm.
and then you need to go
Yeah.
to the craft store too. And oh, there's another, it was just too much.
Oh, and there were so many of us, well, so many kids when we would do that I would have to take two buggies because you've got the car seat in one, the
Yep.
little infant carrier, and somebody's strapped. You need all the little seats, so you're trying to haul two buggies through the store and
Yes.
not lose
Not
anyone.
not have anyone pull all the sugary cereal off the shelf and
Right. Make sure nobody accidentally shoplifted anything.
one kid's grabbing this, another kid's grabbing this, somebody's putting something in their pocket.
Right.
Somebody needs to go to the
Right.
bathroom.
So the grocery store pickup. Oh
The
God.
bathroom
No.
runs.
No, I'm sorry. You can't. There are no bathrooms here. That's not
never take a potty trainer to the grocery store.
Oh, man.
Oh, I have stories. I
Yes.
probably have told the one on here when we lived in Paris, Texas for a year, and I had 4 teensy ones at home. And somebody, of course, was potty training.
Mhm.
And I loaded them all up.
Yes.
Thought, I'm going to get Walmart done early. I mean, sometimes I would wait for my husband to come home and do it in the evening. I'm like, nope, we're going to do it. And so I loaded everybody up 3 bathroom trips later. Because, when you're helping one, the rest of them are totally fine.
Oh, everybody.
But then, you get back on the aisle where you were shopping and then somebody else has just an emergency. And then, 30 minutes later, somebody else decides. It was so much that I remember thinking, no, I think I will go in the evenings from now on. Wait till Dad gets home. I'm not getting anything done. All we're doing is going to the bathroom. So anyway, on your homeschool into town day, you are doing all your grocery pickups and errands, and what else?
Oh, just any errands for the week get run on that day. I like to kind of run it more than just what do we need for these particular meals. I like to approach grocery shopping in more of a kind of like the inventory we did at the restaurant, where I kind of go through the shelves and just make sure I have a good stash of everything. Because there's not another shot at town, really, at grocery shopping for another week. And I like to have things on hand so that, obviously we're going to be able to feed everybody the meals, but we can also be kind of spontaneous. If I have a kid who walks in and wants to make cookies, I want to know that, I got butter and chocolate chips and flour and sugar in the house.
Do you have a master list? Like when you're referring to a restaurant, if you do inventory, you have everything written out and you kind of put a check mark by it or something like that?
I do. Just a little Excel spreadsheet type thing with, what do we keep in the house on a normal basis, and how much do we like to keep around here, and what do we have? It sounds really CD, but it doesn't take
once
very
you have
long
it initially, yes, you can just print the same one every time, and that would prevent you from forgetting something. Like you were saying, ketchup, you might do a quick glance like, oh, well, we're out of mayonnaise, but then you've forgotten to actually check for ketchup. So an Excel spreadsheet would be very handy. And there's so many lists out there of staples, like sometimes you could just search it, but I know like I've seen Ina Garten and the Pioneer Woman and just in various places, I think maybe listed in cookbooks, but I'm sure on blog posts as well, but they'll talk about all the things they have in their pantry, like how they have it stocked for, like you're saying, just so that really you can make anything at any time, maybe add just a couple of things from the store, but you have your basics on hand. So that's a great idea to make an Excel sheet.
Right. I think COVID made me even more attached to my inventory spreadsheet, because you would, at least around here, you would have those times when you went to pick up your groceries and you're like, there's no kosher salt. No one has any kosher salt. It doesn't exist anymore, apparently.
Yeast.
So it's just the shortage.
No toilet paper.
Really, could really throw you off. Yeah. Right. Those are probably the main aspects of restaurant life that I've kind of incorporated into household life.
How do you, so you've talked a bit about pantry management, so you check your list. How do you plan meals? You did mention, of course, that you have a binder and you can look and say, oh, this is what we do, but how do you create that to begin with? And say maybe from your restaurant days as well. Do you have certain things that are always on repeat, or do you pull in new ideas? How do you sit down and menu plan?
I think we have things that are on repeat seasonally. So I know that, for example, during fall and winter, we're going to have one night a week that's soup night. We're going to have some kind of soup and some, nice homemade bread and maybe some cheese and a salad or something. But we'll switch up what it is. And during the spring and summer, we swap that out for salad night, where I love soup night and salad night. It's way less prep than other things. That comes together really quickly. And so during spring and summer, it'll be salad night, and I just kind of set out all the stuff on the buffet line, and the kids can come through and fix their bowl. Some of them you have to make sure they actually put lettuce in there. But We'll have grilled chicken, and here's all the different toppings to put on your salad with grilled chicken. I save menus from other restaurants. Another thing with 8 kids is that we don't go out to eat all that much. But I love restaurants. I love seeing what they're making. And so I save restaurant menus. I have a binder of them. And so sometimes I'll go to those and be like, what sounds good is this salad from this particular restaurant. So let's see if we can recreate that.
That's a great idea. It gives you fresh inspiration.
And, right. What else? We usually try for either a Friday night or a Saturday night, usually to have company. We'll try to set that up maybe on the previous Sunday, so we know we can anticipate and talk to the kids about who's coming over. And I do try to have that be probably the nicest meal that we have all week. Depending on who you invite over, sometimes it's really simple and easy. Sometimes we'll do burgers, or I have one of those outdoor.
That's amazing.
That's super fun. So we're still kind of troubleshooting that and learning how to work it. But it's lots of fun to have people over and do make your own pizza night or something.
Have your children help you in the kitchen. So from 4 to 14, the 4-year-old obviously is doing small jobs.
Oh, the 4-year-old just climbs right up on the counter and with everything. Great jobs for small people, for really tiny people, are picking parsley. I love small people who want to help because they understand this and they will sit there and do it.
It's a tedious job.
Oh, I hate doing it. But yes, picking parsley or cilantro, just give them the whole bunch and say, I need you to pull every leaf off and put it in this bowl. And they're like, I got it. Or I love to, when they're old enough to stand at the stove and they feel really big and important stirring things, I love to have them. I'm like, you're my risotto person.
Constant stirring.
I'm like, you're the one who's going to stand here for 30 minutes. And you just
it's a very important job.
Yes. And my homeschool ones, so everyone under 7th grade is homeschooled at this point. And my family we've taken on a catering job for our church that happens, it's 10 weeks out of the year. So it's not full time and it's just one night. It's our Wednesday night church suppers that we have in the fall and the spring. But my kids help me a lot with that. It's usually about 100 people that sign up for the meal. So, we have a budget and plan it out, and it's pretty simple. A lot of times we'll have soup and a salad and bread and dessert, but they love to get in there in the kitchen and help with that. I have one of those food choppers that it's like a little alligator that you put a quarter of an onion on it and slam it down and your onion is diced.
Those are so amazing.
So
I recently acquired one.
Yes, I'm about to buy it.
The brand Full Star has been recommended on here a lot. I have a link on my shop page for a few different Full Stars because you can kind of pick the blades that you use the most. Obviously, you want the 2 chopping blades, the small dice and the medium dice. Yes. But there's other blades you can get as well, depending on what you use. But I happened to find one that was like a Cuisinart brand, I think, at like Ross or TJ Maxx type store. And so, no, it was Marshall's here in town. It was Ross. It was Ross here in town. Okay. I was shopping with my daughter in Arkansas where she lives, and we saw another one. I think it was at Marshall's. Anyway, so those places might have some things too. These only had the 2 chopping blades though, so maybe not as much as the Full Star would have. Mm-hmm. But yes, I highly recommend it. I didn't think I would be sold on it until I tried it, and now I'm totally sold. I thought, it's another kitchen gadget.
Man.
Oh no, it's life-changing.
No.
So worth it.
So worth it. When you've got to get through,
yes, you just
10 pounds
you slam it down and you're done. And it's completely uniform. The pieces are completely uniform, and a child can do it because they're not handling a knife. I mean, you have to tell them, keep your hands away from the blade, but when they're pushing down, the blade's totally covered. So it's wonderful.
Yes. So they do that. They jump in and peel carrots and potatoes, and they help me load everything up in the car, and we drive it up to the church, and they'll get up on the serving line with me and help dish out, bread or dessert or whatnot. So it's a lot of fun to have them helping out with that. And then they love to help when we have people over to the house as well. My daughter has gotten big enough to set the table on her own. So she likes to pick out the napkins and which color plates are we going to get. We have a lot of Fiesta ware. So she likes to, pick the colors for tonight.
By the way, I mentioned you have 8 children, but are they boys, girls? What mixture do you have?
We have 5 boys and 3 girls. So my 3 oldest are boys. Number 4 is a girl. I have 2 more boys, and then my 2 youngest are girls.
Lots of helpers in the kitchen. So, that's very fun.
Yes. My oldest 2 boys like to help out, especially if we're doing anything on the grill or using the pizza oven or the fryer outside. They like the outside cooking job.
How do you manage teaching 8 children? I think a lot of people would think, how in the world? Okay, so you obviously want to give your children these tools and help them learn kitchen skills and all of that. But do you have all 8 helping you at once? And are you training all 8 at once? Like this is a giant class? Or, I mean, how do you approach that when you have numerous kids, different ages, different skill levels, and really maybe all needing to be taught? I know maybe the 14-year-old is probably, some of the older ones can kind of take off on their own. But how do you approach that?
Sure. I think I would just try to single out and save different age-appropriate jobs for different people. I've talked about, what I would give my 4-year-old to do, or my 8-year-old. I know he's proficient with the peeler, so I could stick him there peeling things. They don't tend to all come at once, or if they want to, if it's something that everybody wants in on, like, Christmas cookies or something. If we're going to have
that is more like a class.
Day. If it's something really intense like that, I might do something like make a list and be like, here are all the things we're going to make today. What do you particularly want to be here for? And maybe we'll sign you up. Maybe we'll put a couple of people in the kitchen for each thing so that it's not just a free for all.
I remember when we were having company over and my children had chores assigned to them, I ended up feeling more like a manager who was overseeing the task rather than getting a whole lot of cleaning done myself. Like I wasn't just locked away in a back bedroom or bathroom scrubbing and organizing. I was going from kid to kid to kid to kid, checking on, have they done it well? And oh dear, I remember one son, he was in charge of the bathroom and he was, supposed to clean the toilet before the company came and he had wiped down the outside. I said, well, did you, use the toilet cleaner to clean the inside? And he just kind of looked at me like he'd never heard that before in his life. you scrubbed the inside of the toilet? And I had that thought, like, have I really never told him this before? Like, surely this is on him. He is totally, just playing this off. But then I really had that mom moment of like, maybe with this child, I really haven't come in here and shown him how to properly clean a toilet.
Yeah, you can kind of assume that, you've taught a couple and you kind of assume it's trickled down to the rest of them. But maybe.
So anyway, it was just like, okay, mom's a manager right now. We're making sure everybody's proficient. But it was before the company came, the cleaning part, the cooking, if they were all in the kitchen at once, there may not even be enough space. So that idea of pulling in a couple at a time is a great one.
Yeah. I'm so excited to have graduated to that kind of managerial role. Everyone was little. Our kids are all super close together. And so everyone was little together for so long that, the fact that I've got people now that I can say, hey, I need you to set the table or I need you to go clean the half bath before people get here or something. That's so freeing.
Absolutely.
That they're capable
once you
now.
put that work in, it is very freeing and rewarding because you can say, okay, you're proficient. I trust you. Now go execute whatever task it is. It's worth the effort you have to put in initially.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your pastry class. You were trained to work in pastry while you were in the restaurant business, which is incredible. And you developed such skill with it that you now teach a pastry class.
I do. So maybe about 6 years ago, a friend of mine approached me and said, look, I have a daughter who's high school age and she's really interested in learning more about this. And would you consider doing lessons for her over the summer. Could she come out and bake with you? And I, said, yeah, that sounds great. If we're going to do it, we probably ought to see if there are some other people who would be interested. So I ended up with a group of 6 high school age girls, and all summer long, I think this was 2017. I think so, yeah. So all summer long, they would come out on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 1. And they would bring, bless their heart, I had to work out an arrangement with their moms because my people were all still very small. I was pregnant. I had a toddler, and I said, okay, so I can teach your daughters and do this class, and this would be super fun. It would be a joy to do it, but I'm going to need some help with
Absolutely.
One mom would bring the girls out. The moms would rotate, taking turns, and one mom would come with the girls every week and would hang with all my little kids in the dining room, which we have it's kind of an open floor plan. So they're not even really in a separate room. They're right in the middle of everything, but they were all at the dining table. I hope that I'm a fun mom in other ways, that Play-Doh is not a thing that ever happens at our house. But that summer, I was like, I got to have something for them to do during pastry class. I went out and bought all the Play-Doh and the accoutrements and the Play-Doh toys, everything I could find. And I would put a big tablecloth all down the dining table, and we put it out. And my kids they'd never done that before. And they were entranced. And 2 days a week for 3 hours at a time, they Play-Doh'd happily all summer long. It was this summer, I think, that we discovered the Great British Baking Show at our house. We had been watching that together, and they would play Great British Baking Show. They would invent challenges and ask the mom to come and judge who had made the best.
I love it.
So they had a blast, and we baked lots of exciting, interesting things in the kitchen.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we're gearing up. We're going to do my third run through. It doesn't happen every summer. Some summers we've had babies and it hasn't been able to happen. But yeah, the third round of pastry classes, we're gearing up for that this summer. So super excited. We bake together for 3 hours. Everybody gets to take home goodies for their family. And then we prep a lunch for ourselves together, something fun and special and girly to eat for lunch. And we all sit down and eat together at lunch before we go in and tackle all the dishes and the carnage in the kitchen.
What a blessing to all of those families, because now those girls can go back and do fun pastries for their family. That reminds me when I was first married, and I think I may have had one baby, my mom put on a class. It wasn't a specific pastry class. It was just real early cooking skills. And she had maybe a 6-week plan or an 8-week plan where she picked something different to teach. I don't really remember what her schedule was, but maybe things like how to make a pie or pie dough, or maybe even just all the different ways you can cook eggs, like boiled, scrambled, over easy. And I remember going to one just to kind of support her and hang out with whoever was there. Later, there were people that made comments about how appreciative they were and how blessed they were and how it really helped them. And I realized, there are a lot of young ladies who have not grown up, or young moms who have not grown up in homes where they were taught kitchen skills or how to cook, or come from all different backgrounds. And so someone like you or my mom just taking the time to say, hey, I have this skill, or I have this knowledge, I want to pass this on, or I'm going to take the time to share this with you. For my mom, she grew up that way. Her mom was not a Christian, and her mom worked full time, and so she was kind of left to fend for herself. And when she first got married, she really did not know anything. And my dad helped her to learn things. And so I think that was probably where she was coming from. And your girls aren't necessarily, I'm not saying they have that same background of their moms aren't teaching them something. You're teaching a very specific skill that, like pastry, I would come to your class. I don't have pastry skills. But that is just such a fun thing, a gift that you're offering, just, some specialized knowledge and saying, I'm going to take time out of my day. And I think there's a lot of listeners out there who they have skills, that they could offer depending on what time of life they're in. But don't think just because you know it and it doesn't seem hard for you that other people know it as well. And it's to them, it may be something just so helpful and reassuring to have someone say, here, let me teach this to you.
Right. It can be deeply satisfying and kind of meet a need you're not always aware you had, as you know, if you're, especially as a mom, when you're just in the middle of, you know, diapers and spit up in laundry and cleaning up the house again and again. And that's all the good work that you're supposed to be doing. It can be nice to get to kind of tack out of that for a little while and access some of your other skills in life and share those with people. And you're like, oh yeah, we used to remember how to do this. And this used to be normal. And that was an exciting
and your
part of
kids
it for
will
me.
always look back with fond memories on Play-Doh Day.
Oh, they love it. They love it. They're all already fielding requests about what will we get to do. And my daughter will be old enough this year to be one of the students. So she's
what
super
age
excited
range
about
do you
that.
teach?
I initially said, you know, it's going to be high school. So I think 15 was like the minimum. And then in other years, I've had adults want to come just on their own, or you say, you know, my daughter's going to take the class, but can I come and take it as well? And this year, I think we're still going to run it 2 days a week, but I'm going to actually run 2 different sessions. I'm going to run one for my daughter's age, my daughter and her friends. So 10, 11, 12. And that will certainly be a little more basic. And then I'm going to run the second day for the high schoolers and adults who, or those who have taken the class once before and are coming back for the second time. So I know they kind of have foundations
some advanced
and we
skills.
can get into more advanced
fun.
things. Yes.
Let's take a quick break. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than your kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit Inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Well, speaking of food, what is one of the favorite menus you might serve when you're having company over?
Okay. So I didn't grow up in Louisiana, so I'm still having to acclimatize to some of the things that are Louisiana staples. My gumbo game is not real strong yet, but I have learned to love shrimp and grits, and that is one of my favorite things to make for company. It's really, really very easy. There's a lot of things you can do to prep beforehand. The grits themselves, they can cook in the crock pot.
That's a great idea.
So you just dump everything in there and you're ready to go. And the shrimp and the sauce and everything, it comes together in about 10 or 15 minutes. So if you've done all the prep work beforehand.
Do you buy your shrimp fresh or do you use frozen shrimp?
I get frozen shrimp from Sam's, and you can get, they're already peeled and deveined. I get the biggest ones I can find that are peeled and deveined. So I think that's usually 21, 25. Oh, fantastic. So you just thaw them out. And for this recipe, the shrimp they actually get cooked on the grill. So I just skewer them up and, stick them in the fridge on their little skewers. And then when it's time to cook them, you spray them. There's a little spice mix that goes on them. And I spray them down with Pam and sprinkle the spice mix on. And they go on the grill, and it's shrimp cook in like 2 minutes. It's a minute on each side.
That sounds amazing.
So super fast.
And then the grits in the crock pot. That sounds like a very hands-off meal.
The grits are in the crock pot. Right. So I like to use stone ground grits, which I think can be probably depending on where you live, that particular cut of grits can be harder to find, but they're always on Amazon. That's where I end up getting mine most of the time. Sometimes I can find them at the health food store around here, but I just keep them on my subscribe and save order from Amazon. So they come to me regularly.
A great tip. That's a really good reminder, because there's a lot of ingredients. If you can't find them in your local grocery store, you can get them from Amazon. I recently ordered coconut because the Walmart here only has their brand. Oddly enough, it's just usually you have a couple of choices, but they only had their particular brand, and it was just not as good as, I think it's Baker's. So I ordered it from Amazon. It was an Easter dessert I was wanting to make, and I just didn't like it. Something about it. The texture is too sweet. And anyway, so I just did a quick Amazon order, and then my coconut came. So that's a fabulous tip. What do you serve with the shrimp and grits?
I would make a big salad, something fun. I love the spring mix that you can just get in the big tubs at Sam's. And so you've got interesting lettuces. I might put some candied walnuts maybe, and tomatoes, maybe a nice funky cheese like a blue or a gorgonzola, and some sliced tomatoes and a balsamic vinaigrette. And then I buy baguettes and just kind of slice them up with a little olive oil, pretty thin, like you would for a crostini, and run them through the oven, because the shrimp and grits is going to have lots of sauce that people want to sop up. So I just like to put a little bag of toasty baguette pieces, or a bowl, and that's kind of the bread that goes with the meal. I'm so excited
to see this recipe. I'll post it online for anybody else who's interested in trying shrimp and grits. If you never have made it, it is really a must-have. You have to try it once in your life if you have not had it. I don't know if it's only a Louisiana staple, but it is delicious. I've had it in the South, but surely it's made its way all over the United States, because it is so good. Do you serve a dessert typically with this menu?
I do. I like bananas Foster. Is so easy and very, very much a fun showstopper. So this is like bananas cooked in a brown sugar cinnamon rum sauce served over ice cream. So you can pre-scoop your ice cream, totally get your Bluebell or whatever the preferred brand is up there, but you can pre-scoop it on a cookie sheet and just keep it in the freezer. So you don't have to stand there laboring with the ice cream scoop while everybody's waiting for dessert. And again, bananas Foster, it's just butter and brown sugar and cinnamon and bananas, and you cook it in a skillet on the stove until it makes a sauce. And then it's the showmanship part. We like to cut the lights in the kitchen. My kids are always like, turn out the lights. And you put in rum and banana liqueur, and you light the thing on fire. So all the alcohol burns off, but you still have the flavoring, but you're not going to inebriate your children. And then it goes over the top of the ice cream, and you can stick a little fun shortbread cookie or something in the sides and have a little crunch. But it's super simple and easy.
So delicious.
And a real special.
It is a showstopper. And have you ever taken a little bit of cinnamon and sprinkled it as the liqueur?
Does it like crackle and sparkle?
Yes.
Is that what it does? Oh, fun. It's already in my sauce when I do it.
Well, I read it somewhere. And at some point years ago, I did make it. And yes, we did the same thing. The lights were dim and you light the alcohol on fire, which is enough. But I had read you can sprinkle some cinnamon and it'll sparkle. And that was very fun. I mean, the children were gathered around because we had another family over to eat, and the children were gathered around like I was putting on the greatest show on earth. I was so stressed out. I remember that specific dinner and that specific dessert because I was so stressed out. I had planned to turn out the lights for the dessert, but right before the company came, the lights wouldn't work. They just wouldn't come on in our dining room. And so the whole room was super dark. I'm pretty sure maybe the kitchen maybe it was the dining room. Somehow the lights were just out. And the breaker didn't fix it. My husband knew it was wrong. Company's about to walk in the door, and we had plugged in a lamp. And I think maybe that worked, but I don't know. All I remember is we were in the dark the whole dinner. And so I'm trying to struggle back and forth between the kitchen and dining room, with this just really dim lamp or candles or whatever we had figured out. Serve dinner, the dessert, we get through this. I can barely see. Everybody leaves. And one of my kids kind of wiggles the cord or a bulb, and then all of a sudden the light came blaring back into existence. I was like, oh, wow. Well, if we just tried that, we would have had light in the dining room. Like it was a faulty cord or bulb or something. It was just the worst. But yes, that was the night that the lights were out automatically. I didn't even have to remember to turn them out for the bananas Foster. We were in the dark the whole meal with our little candle flame.
I think my mom used to sometimes serve dinner by candlelight which she knew there was something in the sauce, when it was maybe a dish we hadn't had before, that there was going to be something in the sauce that we were going to want to pick out as children. She'd be like, we're going to eat by candlelight tonight.
You won't see the floating bits of broccoli.
Maybe they won't see that. Right.
That's pretty great. Speaking of parsley, I was thinking bits of parsley too. Speaking of parsley, I haven't tried this yet. Again, it's another little kitchen gadget or a kitchen hack, but maybe there's even a recommendation on here before. There could be a tool on the shop page where you can take the herbs and pull it through and it kind of strips the herbs. Have you ever tried one of those?
I've never tried one. I've seen it and I've always thought, I don't know. Maybe I've always thought, no, I have a 4-year-old.
And that honestly, if you do, and that's a task they love to do, I would say just keep going for it. The other hack that I saw recently is if you have a colander with holes, like say a plastic colander, you can poke the stems through and pull through, which is kind of the same thing as the tool. You can poke your cilantro or your parsley end and then just pull, and it supposedly strips the leaves. I don't know. Haven't tried this either, but since I don't have a 4-year-old, I'm very interested in this whole process because I don't like picking off, individual forever cilantro, parsley.
Oh man, if there's a hole on there that does fresh thyme, I can remember when I worked at the restaurant. I didn't usually have to prep for the hotline unless somebody had called in sick or something. I was back in the pastry corner doing my thing, but I can remember there was a guy who would have to spend like an hour with this huge box of fresh
that's a nightmare.
Stripping it, just stripping and chopping the thyme. And I was going, that looks like the worst.
Yeah, so tedious. And that was probably before he had a podcast or music or, well, maybe they, but I guess back in the day, they still had iPod or iPods.
We had iPods and we would run the cords of the earbuds up underneath our chef jackets. So everybody, and you could only keep one earbud in. You always had to have the other ear open to hear, but you were allowed to have one.
At least they recognized you got to have something to make it through the hour of picking time.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned a couple of shortcuts and time savers that you would do, things like crock pot for the grits. Do you have any other recommendations that you would say for this menu that you would prep ahead of time?
Having everything chopped and ready for the shrimp and grits, the sauce, you could totally do that. There's some mushrooms and green onions and parsley and shallots. You can pre-chop all of that, and I think it all goes in at the same time. So you can even put it all in the same bowl or baggie and stash it in your fridge until it's time. I get the shrimp ready on their skewers, and usually I'll send my son out to grill those for me when it's time for that. There's even, the sauce is built on bacon. So that's the first thing you'll do is cook a lot of bacon so that the bacon will go in the sauce, and then you'll use the grease to cook all your veg. But you could even do that beforehand. You could go ahead and render out all your bacon and pull it out of the grease, and then just have the bacon fat sitting in your pot waiting for when your company shows up and you're ready to throw the sauce together really quick. And I should say that, too, I know shrimp is an allergen alert. There's lots of people that are allergic to seafood. So I do try to check with our guests if I know we're going to serve seafood and make sure nobody's allergic. And if anyone, it's really easy to, season up and throw a chicken breast on the grill, and they can still have the grits and the sauce. I won't put the shrimp in the sauce. I'll kind of keep everything separate so they can build their bowl the way that they would like to. And then we won't send anyone into anaphylactic shock during that
Well, I'm
dinner.
sure it's so delicious. I had a friend who is not allergic to shrimp, but she went to the shore, like Gulf Shores in Alabama, and the shrimp was so delicious and fresh, fresh caught. She ate so much that she had an allergic reaction.
Oh, no.
Because she had, I don't know, maybe it was over a course of days as well. Maybe she'd eaten shrimp 3 days in a row. I can't remember. But yes, we'd have to be careful of this as well. Make sure you don't eat so much shrimp. Yes. Your body's like, what do I do? The chicken is actually a really great option on the side. That would be just as delicious.
Yeah. And I like to have, because generally I am, cooking things kind of on the spot. I don't do a lot of casseroles. I really don't use the crock pot very much, except I love it for these grits. So I do like to have an appetizer and a drink to kind of put in the hands of my guests when they come in the door. Because, it's going to be 15 to 30 minutes before we're actually sitting down at the table probably to eat. So I love to always have on hand cream cheese and pepper jelly and a box of Fun crackers.
That's an instant appetizer.
That is, instant and fun.
And would go with this menu perfectly.
And I'm also, because it's not, you don't want something super heavy because you're having a pretty heavy fare with the meal. But it's light, they can stand around and snack on it. And I've also been on a big kick with Ina Garten. I love her, Contessa. She's everything she makes is amazing. She has a homemade whiskey sour mix recipe that is it's super easy and just fresh and springy. So I like to have them in and give them a whiskey sour, give them some cream cheese and pepper jelly, and then I don't feel too bad if you're going to have to wait 20 minutes or so while I prep the rest of your dinner.
Well, speaking of prepping, what is your best prep tip? I mean, you've actually just shared an amazing one. Do you have any other ways that you prep for a company coming over besides getting your appetizer and drink ready?
We try to talk to our kids, especially if it's, maybe it's a family coming over that they don't know as well. Maybe it's a new family at the church or something and they haven't hung out with us much. We try to go over, make sure everybody knows everybody's name and can remember them. And we'll let them know, what age kids are coming here, what might they like to play with. We have a train table in our playroom. Sometimes I'll tell one of my bigger boys, look, I need you to go build a really cool train track. So, there's something there. Or we'll talk about boundaries, if we're is this a night where it's going to be okay if everybody goes upstairs and plays in bedrooms where all the Legos are, or the bigger kid toys, or are we going to stay downstairs? We just try to kind of brainstorm with our kids about fun ways they can get involved with the other kids coming to our house. We have chickens. So sometimes that's a fun thing, is to get the visiting kids to go out and collect eggs with our kids if they've not done that before. I have become a really big fan of name tags at the table, place tags, so people know where to sit. I didn't do that for the longest time, but we have really just one dining area, one big table, and we, as much as we can, we try to keep everyone there. Sometimes we have other tables in our house, but they're going to be definitely separated from the main group. So I like name tags, so we don't have this big kerfuffle when it's time to pray. Everybody just kind of stands around, and you don't have to tell 16 people where you want them to sit on the fly.
Actually, that's a great idea, because it is a little bit overwhelming when you have a large group. Where do I sit? Am I messing up the order of someone else sitting next to, say, their wife or husband? Or maybe they have a tiny little kid they need next to them so that they can help the kid. And so it is so much nicer if you have a specific place, okay, this is my spot. Or even when you first arrive, I can put my jacket on this chair. I can hang my purse on the side, or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of times if kids are coming over, they'll just get so busy and engaged with playing and the other kids, they won't think about it. But I do try to have some kind of fun little drink or something where they can participate in appetizers too, whether that's just a fun soda or maybe the sparkling cider. When we have Mexican, sometimes we have friends over from Mexican, my kids love it when I get those. Oh, it's the Mexican soda. It's Jarritos. I don't know. They sell them in like the ethnic aisle of the grocery store, and they come in a rainbow of colors. You can buy a 12-pack that has all the colors of all the sodas. And they love it. We get those and line them out up down the middle of the table, like on either side of the flower.
Such a hard choice.
Yeah, but they, it's stick a fun straw in there, and then everybody's got their own fun fizzy drink.
That sounds like a fabulous
So
idea.
I don't want to exclude
Yes.
the kids.
Well, and that adds to your table
Right.
decor because they're so cheerful and colorful and
Yes. Oh,
instant decoration.
instant and easy.
What
Right.
is your best advice for making people feel welcome in your home? Again, we have some overlap. I mean, you've definitely already mentioned numerous things, but do you have anything else to add to
Mhm.
what we've already talked about?
I think just pulling them in when they get in the house, give them a drink, and if they would like to help in the kitchen, there's almost always something I can ask people to do, something
Take
to be
some
chopped,
time for me.
or some dishes to be washed or something. I also really like. I know it's customary for people if you invite people over for them to say, "What can I bring?" And maybe this is just me applying my life and preferences to other people, but I love to be able to tell them to just bring the simplest thing I can think of. Usually I'll ask that they bring the wine or something. I think, if I've invited you over, that's your night off. I don't want you to have to feel like, well, we're going over there, but I got to make a potato casserole before I come to bring with me. I want it to be a night off for the mom and something really pleasant and enjoyable. So a lot of times we'll say, no, just bring yourselves, or we'll try to keep it really, really simple. Could you bring the wine, or could you pick up a thing of ice cream or something like that?
That's a fabulous idea. What about a must-have kitchen item? What would you say you must have? I'm sure with 8 children, there are a lot of must-haves, but do you have any that just really stand out?
I asked some of my older kids this morning. We were cleaning up after breakfast, and I was like, "So, what do you think? What is our most?" And all three of them gave me the same. I asked them separately, and they were all like, "Mom, you're really weirdly attached to your garlic press."
That really does stand out if they've noticed that.
It really stood out.
Okay, you got to tell me about this garlic press, because I have had people recommend garlic presses on here before, and a lot of times it's like, oh, just whichever one. But if you love yours, we need a specific recommendation.
Okay, it's not. I can't really in good. This costs too much for a garlic
but
press.
If you use it all the time.
But if it gets used every day, and it came at the end of breaking garlic press after garlic press, they just would you'd get up to use it one day and it would just kind of disintegrate there in your hand.
Which means you've wasted your money. You might as well get an expensive one.
Yes. So I Googled it up, like what do the pros recommend for garlic presses? I think this one is made by the Dream Farm Corporation. It's on Amazon. It is too much to pay for a garlic press, but it holds up really, really, really well. It's super heavy and heavy duty. And it has this mechanism where not only does they all have the little spikies that will clean out the garlic at the end. They're supposed to help you. But this has a little scraper, like a spring-loaded scraper, so that after you press the garlic, when you open it up, it automatically scrapes the garlic into wherever it's going.
So it prevents waste.
That is super cool. It prevents waste, and you can put the cloves in unpeeled. It actually says that on the package.
Okay, that's a game changer. Because I'm always, chopping off the ends of the garlic, smashing it with the side of a knife, peeling off before you ever even get to work with the garlic. Okay, what's the brand? I have to put this on. We're definitely going to put it on comeovefordinner.com. So check it out there.
Yeah. It's called Dream.
You did mention
Dream
that.
Farm.
Dream Farm. And I guess they just have one.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll send you a link.
They just have one that they make, I'm guessing, just one style.
I think they make one garlic press, and maybe they have like a light version and a heavy version.
Sure.
I have the heavy duty.
If you're cooking for 10 on a regular basis, you want the heavy duty version.
Yeah, it's good. When I did my brainstorming, I thought I would really recommend, there's a brand of nonstick pans called Scan Pan, and it's not, I don't know what it is. I went to the site to try to look. I know it's not Teflon or any of the things that are supposed to wear out really quickly and be bad for you. But I don't think it's ceramic either. I went on their website and I couldn't really, it's something proprietary only to them. But my husband and I got given this little 8-inch scan pan skillet when we got married. And I was not excited. I was like, I didn't register for that. And, super sweet that you gave us a gift, but nonstick skillets were not something I ever used. I wasn't cooking eggs on a regular basis or anything. I just didn't think we would get that much use out of it. That thing is working nonstop. And it's 15 years later, and that pan is still just as nonstick as it ever was. It doesn't have a scratch on it. My husband actually bought me the huge 14-inch scan pan skillet. That's what I'd pull out to make the shrimp and grits in. But now with 10 kids, that's what I pull out for, French toast or pancakes in the morning, or when we're having eggs and everybody needs, I need to make a ton of fried eggs or something. Just a workhorse of a nonstick skillet. Nothing sticks to it. There is no coating that flakes off.
I have never heard of that.
I don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, and for the last 15 years, I've also never heard of that. Typically, you have a couple of years and you're throwing your nonstick in the trash because it's, disintegrating before your eyes.
Yeah. And then I have a terribly Southern must-have kitchen item. One of the things that I found I was really missing that you kind of have all the time in restaurant kitchens, but you don't have at home. Man, I missed those deep fryers. They were just always set up and ready. And we're not going to have deep fried food at every meal or even every week, but I liked having it there when I needed it. And I got given this tabletop deep fryer for Christmas one year, and it is fantastic. It's rectangular. It came with the little basket that lowers the food in and raises it up. It holds a gallon of oil, and it has a submergible heating element. So it does a really good job keeping the oil hot, and it has a digital thermometer control. So this is way beyond, one of those fried addy buckets.
You guessed. Are you going to burn the food, or is it going to be undercooked? This is
fantastic.
We had a fried addy way back when we were first married. Oh my goodness. This is much fancier.
Well, I feel like this is as close to, installing a frying station.
And having a thermometer temperature control is it's absolutely ideal, because if you're going to be cooking, say, batch after batch of French fries or something, you have to know your oils come back up to the right temperature. Otherwise, they're just sitting there soaking in grease. If it's too cool, it just doesn't cook right. So if you know the temperature, it really helps you to have excellent food every single time you're throwing a batch in.
Yeah. We have a little porch, an outside porch off of our dining room. So I just set it up out there. My son runs an extension cord for me, and we pop it on the little table on the porch so that the house doesn't smell like whatever it is you're frying.
Where do you store it in between? Do you store it in a cabinet, or?
It's in a cabinet with other, with the waffle iron and the popcorn maker and things like that. It's not
that big. Do you store your oil in it, or do you throw out your oil every time, or reuse it? How does the oil situation work?
As long as it has not, if you're frying fish or seafood, that's a one and done with the oil. I don't want to reuse that.
Or chicken.
Or probably chicken too. If meat has been in it, I feel like that's going to probably be a one and done. But if we've made donuts or something like that, I will filter the oil through a sieve, maybe lined with a little bit of cheesecloth, so that we catch any crumbs. And I just save the container that it came out of, the plastic gallon jug, and I'll pour it back in there and stick a little piece of tape on it, label it. And I feel like I can get probably 3 to 5 uses out of a gallon of oil, as long as it hasn't had something really stinky frying in it.
That's very fun, because then you have a very easy way to do a ton of French fries or fried fish or donuts or fried chicken nuggets or whatever it is. There's definitely some things that you want to fry sometimes.
It's fun. And
fried okra. That's definitely a Southern staple.
Oh gosh, fried okra. Make your fried okra.
Oh, I've never done that. I just eat it.
Oh, it's so good. When we make the shrimp and grits for company, I like to, this is totally optional. It's not like a make or break, but it's kind of that extra little over the top thing. I have one of those, it's a spiralizer. I think people use them to make like zucchini noodles when you don't want to eat pasta or something like that. It came from Walmart. This is the only thing I do with it because I'm not on the zucchini noodle train. But we take a sweet potato and we put it through the spiralizer on the angel hair setting. So it makes these little curly ribbon strings of sweet potato, and they're super duper thin, like a shoestring potato thinness. And I like to take those and throw them in the deep fryer. It makes sweet potato hay is what we used to do this at the restaurant. And I love to put a big mound of sweet potato hay on top of the big bowl of shrimp and grits.
Delicious.
It's super colorful, and it adds some crunch and texture and a little bit of sweetness. It's lots of fun, but it's totally optional. It doesn't make or break.
I've never seen that before, but it sounds like it would be amazing and a showstopper. Speaking of showstoppers, do you have a story that you want to share? A story that might have stopped a show?
The one that just kind of scarred me for life when I was working at the restaurant out of college. I hadn't been there very long. I was working as a pastry chef. One of my roommates was going to be getting married and came to me and asked me about catering her rehearsal dinner. It was going to be, pretty low key, probably about 80 people. Our church owned a big old fashioned house, this old Southern house. They were going to have it there. And they wanted a really simple menu. They wanted like jambalaya and several sides and cheesecake. And I said, yeah, I think I could totally do that for you. It's like, I don't, jambalaya. I was a single girl, so I wasn't cooking jambalaya for myself on a regular basis. I was like, but my mom, we grew up eating that. I'm sure I can get my mom's recipe and that'll be no problem. And I made all the things, all the cheesecakes and the sauces and homemade bread and the corn pudding and the green bean bundles and the jambalaya. Everything was going so well. And the day of, I'm making like this quadruple batch of jambalaya on the stove with my mom's recipe. And it's coming up to time for the guests are going to be arriving soon. And the jambalaya has finished its cooking time. And I go to taste it, and the rice is still crispy. Like, the rice is not cooked. And I thought, oh no, what have I done? Has doubling or what have I done? What did I do wrong? I'm reading back through the recipe. I can't find anything that I've done wrong. And this was this is pre-cell phones, or this is before everybody had a cell phone. So it was going to be a long distance call to get my mother on the phone. So I called the pastor's wife of my church. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And she said, oh, just, put some more water in the pot. It'll cook. Just stick some more water in there. Let that rice steam out. And I did that, and it still wasn't cooking. And I did it again. It still wasn't. And I thought, this is so bad. So I did finally go find a phone, call my mother. And I said, look, what have I done wrong? I'm reading over the recipe with her. She's like, those are all the ingredients. And I was like, yes, I did everything. I did it all right. It's been timed. It's on the right heat. And I'm just racking my brain. It's like, Mom, you don't use any weird kind of rice for this, right? And she said, oh no, I just use just the rice that we always have. And I was like, but you're sure? And she's like, yeah. I said, Mom, go get the package. Go get the package of rice. I just want to be 100% sure. And she came back. She said, look, it's just the normal rice that I always buy, Uncle Ben's parboiled rice. Oh. Sometimes, yeah. You just don't, I didn't ever
Well, and parboiled,
I just thought
obviously is partially cooked.
Yeah, that's like 10 minutes of cooking time. That was a very humbling night, because you know what? The bread and the cheesecake and the corn pudding and the green beans were all fantastic, but those people all had crunchy jambalaya.
I bet you made up for it.
They were walking in the door.
I bet a little bit of crunch was just fine when they had everything else. Maybe you needed a little bit of crunch with the softer cheesecake and green beans and other things.
Oh.
Oh, that's such a hard thing to have happen because it is so important for you to have it perfect for your friend. You want it to be just right.
Oh yeah,
And then,
yes,
yeah, who would know?
yeah,
Just when you think rice, right? I mean, who knows? Very specifically, no, you
right,
have to get this specific brand and it's already partially cooked, or even, some people have used minute
yeah,
rice or
yes.
whatever.
Oh gosh, important things to know. When I worked at the restaurant, New Year's Eve was always that was our biggest, busiest night of the year. It was a real fancy place. And we were gonna, everyone knew New Year's Eve is all hands on deck. Nobody's getting that night off. We're gonna turn all the tables in the restaurant 3 times. It's just gonna be really, really, really busy. And I can remember being up there one year prepping all the pastry. We were gonna have a fixed menu. So we were not going to run the whole menu all night. You were going to get a, selection from one of 2 things for each of your courses that you were coming to eat. And so one of the things that I had to do was just make tons and tons and tons of white chocolate bread pudding with this white chocolate ganache sauce that went on top of it. I had been chopping, our chocolate came to us in 11-pound bars. And you would have to take your chef's knife and chop it down into chunks that you wanted to use. I had been chopping chocolate for days, trying to get ready to feed all these people. And on my little station behind me, I had a set of burners. I had a big vat of cream coming to a boil to make this white chocolate ganache. It came to a boil and I turned it on and I dumped all the white chocolate in there. And you're supposed to just let it sit for about 5 minutes and then you'll whisk it up and it will be ganache. I ran back to the pantry to get something during that 5 minutes. And when I came back, my huge pot of cream was gone. And I thought, what on earth? I'm asking around. Did you need a burner and you moved my pot of cream? What happened? And I'm checking in the dish pit to make sure they didn't take it and clean it. I can't find it anywhere. And then the executive chef, he's been over at the tilt skillet making vats and vats and vats of lobster bisque, which is going on the menu that night. He heard me asking about my pot of cream and he kind of caught my eye. He said, what? I said, my pot of white chocolate ganache cream that was right here. I guess he had asked someone else in the kitchen to put on a big pot of cream for him to boil, to put in the lobster bisque. And he had assumed that it was my pot.
No.
And he had dumped 11 pounds of white chocolate ganache in the lobster bisque.
Oh, no.
And it was so much worse for him. I mean, he had a way bigger problem to solve, but all I could think was, I've been chopping chocolate for days, and all my chocolate is gone.
Wow. Oh, that is a true disaster because you cannot undo that. And those flavors do not go together. It's not like you created some fabulous new dish.
No,
no.
It was really funny. I watched him for about an hour be like, no, I can fix this. He was trying to doctor on that soup for an hour before he finally had to give up. And
did y'all just have to take lobster bisque off the menu?
I think this may be more about restaurant life than you want to know. They strained the soup. They rescued all the lobster meat. That was the cost we could not swallow. So they strained all the meat out and washed it all off. And then I think they started making some calls to other restaurants they wanted a lobster base. The original base they had made with the shells from the lobsters and everything. They'd made a velouté out of that.
Gone.
Those were all gone and we had to come up with something. So they found some to borrow from someone.
Wow. And what happened to your dessert? I mean, if all your chocolate was gone, you just couldn't serve.
I had to start over. There was more chocolate in the pantry. It was another several hours of chopping down white chocolate.
That is a very long night. There's just a lot of lessons to be learned there. Maybe taste your ingredients before you dump them. A lot of patience. Yeah. Ask questions. A lot of patience, also a lot of thinking on your feet and how can I solve this problem without just dissolving into a pool of tears, having a complete meltdown.
Oh, absolutely.
That's tough. Well, I'm sure your many years in the restaurant business just have given you so many tools for home management and home cooking and And of course, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge with us today. It's just been such a blessing to hear everything you've had to share.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Until next time, bye for now.